Hello and welcome back to the Entertainment Vortex. This is going to be a special video we do, and it's a new tradition we're going to do every year. This is our top 5 movies of 2017. Now, we're both going to give our list, but do keep in mind, one of the wonderful things about them is that they're subjective. Everybody has a different opinion. You go into movies wanting something different, expecting something different, and bringing a whole world of experiences that you had with you into that theater. So, what's going to be my favorite, and what's going to be JB's favorite, I guarantee you are going to be different. And what's going to be your favorite is also going to be different. But, if you want to play a little game, pause this video, put your top 5 in the comment section, and then once we give our opinion, reply to that comment and see if you had any overlap with us. I'd be very curious to see what you guys think were the top 5 before you hear our top 5. So let's just jump right into it. So my number 5 movie is going to be a controversial one. So my number 5 movie is The Dark Tower. Now, I can already feel it. I can feel all the viewers rolling their eyes. If you remember seeing our review for this, which is over on the At The Source channel, you know that I gave this movie a perfect score. I really enjoyed this movie. Now, I've only read a little bit of the books going into this movie, and I didn't know everything about the story. I've read quite a bit more since then. But even now that I've read all this extra, I still think it was a good movie. It was a good starting point. And that's what I think people need to realize, that this is the starting point. And not only is it the starting point, but this movie was supposed to take place after the books. And if you've read the books, you understand how that works. So, I enjoyed Idris Elba. I thought he was a badass in that movie. Perfect for that role. Not exactly the role you know from the book, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I thought McConaughey did a good job as the Man in Black, and I don't typically care for him. I definitely have wild thoughts of what's going to happen in the next movie if they're able to make it. And I also know that this was supposed to be the center point of the Stephen King Extended Universe. And I want to see more of that. I really do, especially with how good It was this year. I want to see more of those Stephen King movies all tied together with the Dark Tower series.
So when it comes to my number 5 and also my number 4 pick, there are some times where things kind of fall through the cracks, and either if it's not something that's a super wide release, or it's something that we just end up seeing something else that week. There are a few things that end up falling through the cracks and I end up seeing kind of on my own. And there were a few movies in that type of category that really jumped out and really resonated with me and that I felt were really excellent films. So number 5 on my list is Get Out. Big reason why we didn't see it is that Nick is not a big fan of horror films in general. This movie kind of has some twists and turns to it. It's got some comedic moments, some really terrifying moments, not necessarily in like the typical horror sense. It's really poignant about this moment in time right now as far as where racial tension is at, and as far as the way that like the political scape looks. Like there's a lot of really interesting commentary if you dig into that movie. And also there are just some really interesting characters that you can really dig into and kind of learn more about. If you haven't seen this movie already and if you have any curiosity at all, I definitely suggest to check it out. I really enjoyed it. It was something that, like I said, I knew when I saw it that I was going to put it on my top list this year.
So my number 4 will come as a surprise to no one. If anybody was watching our reviews before we transferred to the new channel, you would know that John Wick 2 was going to be on this list. Because I feel that John Wick, the first John Wick, was one of the best action movies made in the last 10 years. It is an amazing piece. And John Wick 2 gave us more of the same, which is great. I wanted more of the same. So while there were a couple pieces of the story I didn't quite agree with towards the end of the movie, the whole movie was just so fun. It gave me exactly what I wanted. So if you haven't seen this one, you have to see this one. It is an amazing work of art when it comes to action movies.
Alright, so as I previously stated before, my number 4 is also going to be another movie that we didn't review for either channel. Goodbye, Christopher Robin. Now, I saw this at our local art house theater, and I was completely blown away with the way that they tell this story. It's easily the most vivid depiction of somebody dealing with PTSD that I've ever seen in my entire life. It was something that really resonated with me emotionally. I got really happy when good things were happening. I actually cried, which I don't cry very often in movies. It was one of those things where I had a really heavy emotional reaction to this movie, and it was something that stuck with me for days, weeks, months after I left the theater, and I'm really glad that I saw it. It's something that didn't get out to a lot of theaters, so if you have the opportunity, check it out as soon as possible. It was an excellent film.
So for my number 3 is another movie that anybody that knows me or has been watching these reviews will know exactly what this movie is. And it's Justice League. I've been waiting for a Justice League movie since I was a little kid. I have always been a fan of DC Comics over Marvel in the comic form, and these characters are so important to me as I was growing up. And they were just so iconic in my mind that The second Avengers happened, the first thing I said is, all I want is a Justice League movie. Now, as some of the people watching this are probably thinking, yeah, but it wasn't that good. Well, you know what? It's subjective. There were scenes in the movie, there were aspects of the movie that weren't perfect, but I was like a kid on Christmas morning watching that movie. I was so anticipating this movie that it really could do no wrong in my mind. I just wanted to see what they were going to give me with this group together for the first time. And you know what? I was happy. I was happy with what we got. They did enough right where it made it worth watching, and worth watching again, in my opinion. I hope we get the Zack Snyder cut. I don't know if we're going to. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I can't wait to get it on 4K Blu-ray and dig into the special features behind it. It is something that stands in my mind as an event, and something I'll remember watching that movie the rest of my life, because like I said, I was waiting since I was a little kid, and it finally happened.
So it's interesting that we both happen to place these at number 3. It kind of spells out the dichotomy that exists on this channel between the two of us. Nick has always been a diehard DC guy, and I'm on the other side of that fence. And being a huge Marvel fan, it was really great to see Wolverine the way that he was meant to be done. My number 3 movie is Logan, and there's so many things to take away from that film. Just how visceral and how much rage is built up throughout that story. It's just something like you've only ever seen in the comic books. The fact that they were able to bring some of that to life, and that there was this, emotionally grabbing story that has all these twists and turns, and it kind of takes you for this ride. And it's one of those things where, even though it's such a heavy emotional response, it's a ride that I'm willing to take multiple times, which is, for an emotionally heavy movie like this, isn't something that's very common. I was able to get behind all of the characters that they presented, the way that they presented, X-23, and just the way that they created that bond between the two of them. It was just, like I said, absolutely outstanding. There are a lot of really heavy emotional moments, and I'm really glad that this came out this year and I was able to see it.
Once again, this is becoming a theme here. If you've been watching our reviews over the past year, you know what my next movie is as well. My next movie is Kingsman: Golden Circle. I live and breathe this series. There was something about that first movie that was just so special, in my opinion. It was different, but at the same time it was familiar. And these characters, you're so hooked. I want to know more. I'm cracking up, but yet I'm emotionally invested in the outcome of these characters. Well, Kingsman 2 comes around, and not only is the big thing from Kingsman 1 reversed, but it's done in a great way. I love having that character back. I love the humor. I love the fact that right at the beginning of the movie, the whole thing's flipped upside down. And you know what? I love the Kingsman. I love the Statesman. It just works. It's extremely well done, and I cannot wait for the next movie.
So the next movie on my list is going to make our editor incredibly happy. This may be a little bit of a controversial decision based on some of the way that the reviews have been going as far as audiences are concerned, but Star Wars: The Last Jedi is my number 2 on this list.
Woo!
This movie did so many things for me. It was as long as it needed to be, it told the story that it needed to tell, and it did a really great job of passing the torch from those old characters that you grew up with to the new characters that are now going to be the centerpiece for this series. It has excellent action moments. It also has some really fantastic emotional responses and answers some of those questions that we were looking for from The Force Awakens, while asking new questions for us to ponder over for the next 2 years while we wait for the 9th project.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to do before we reveal our number 1s, which we will get to very soon here, is we have 3 honorable mentions apiece. So my 3 honorable mentions, 2 of which were actually already on his list, which shows that we do overlap in some things. My first honorable mention would be Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And if you saw our review or our spoiler review, you would know that I really love that movie. It has its flaws. There are aspects of that movie that are not perfect, but overall, I got something new, and I got something special, and I really loved it. Now, I didn't have the same connection I had with the movies on my list, but I definitely had a connection with this movie, and I walked out very happy that I saw it. And I know that choice on both of our lists at some point is probably going to be the most controversial thing in this video. Even though I mentioned Dark Tower already, that just goes to show how important Star Wars is to people. That this is such a divisive movie. That when you change something, the opinions are loud, and they're strong. My second honorable mention is Logan, which he also spoke about. I feel that it was done differently, it was done well, and it really captured the dark aspect of comic books. And I also think it's kind of funny that Batman vs. Superman gets a bad rap for being so dark, when Logan is put up on high for being so dark. but I guess that could be a whole other discussion. Logan was a masterpiece. The only reason that it's not in my top 5 is because I have trouble seeing it a second time. It's so emotional that I feel that it's too heartbreaking. Like, it just hits you in the gut over and over and over again. That's not necessarily what I'm looking for in a movie. So, amazing nonetheless. And the third one was a huge surprise. A movie I didn't even want to see in theaters. It was Coco. And this movie was phenomenal. It grabs you and it just hooks you into the movie and the music and the characters, and you're bawling. Well, I was bawling, but you're bawling in this movie. It is so well done. And it really shows the magic and the genius that Pixar has. It is something special.
For my list of honorable mentions, I really want to throw all of the other Marvel movies that were released this year on there, but I'm going to have to pick one. And for me, it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I absolutely loved this movie. I saw it more times than I've ever seen any movie in theaters. I couldn't get enough of it. It's on Netflix now, and I pop it on every couple of days, just in the background or whatever. I love the way that those characters banter back and forth. My only real issue, and the reason why it didn't shoot up onto that top 5 list, was just that it's kind of more of the same. Guardians of the Galaxy, the original, was groundbreaking in the way that it presents, humor with action, and the way that it kind of took everything to a new place as far as the Marvel formula is concerned. But it does feel like Volume 2 does some of the same things. While it expands into those characters and allows them to grow a little bit more, there's still some of the same things that are going on. And while that's excellent, and I would gladly go see 10 movies that are just like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's anything new or groundbreaking, which I feel like my list has that in spades. My second on the list is going to be Dunkirk. This movie, to the chagrin of Nick here, is the tensest movie I've ever seen in theaters in my entire life. You're constantly at the edge of your seat. There's so many emotional moments where you feel like everything is going to crash around you. It makes this movie like something that you just can't peel your eyes away from. Like, it makes you not want to blink because you don't want to miss what's going to happen next. And that type of reaction is something you don't get from every cinema, so I'm really glad that I saw this one this year. It just didn't quite make it onto the list because I didn't have as heavy an emotional reaction as I had with some of the other movies on the list. The final one that I'm going to go ahead and talk about today for my honorable mentions is Blade Runner 2049. This movie was a spectacle. Some of the best visual effects of the year by a pretty substantial margin. Just the way that it's acted, the way that the story is presented, and the way that they kind of just pick right up where it left off, and a whole 30 years later from the original, is absolutely outstanding. It's one of those things where this movie's kind of sat in development hell for a long time. The fact that they were able to get it out there, they were able to make it, and they were able to make it great is something that's awe-inspiring in this type of an industry at this point. And Ryan Gosling's performance is potentially Oscar-worthy.
So my number one movie is a very emotional choice for me. I did not know this movie was going to have the impact on me it did until I saw it, went home, thought about it, saw it again. The Greatest Showman has had an enormous impact on me. For those of you that haven't seen the movie, we will put the review down below, and I highly suggest seeing the movie. But this movie has 2 morals. I feel these morals are universal, and they're very important in this time and age. The first moral is that you are only what you feel you are. What everybody else tells you are isn't who you are. And that is such an amazing, amazing moral. Plus, the second moral in this story is that you can do whatever you dream to do. The way they portray that in this movie is very special. And obviously, those 2 morals link together. So needless to say, this is a story of P.T. Barnum. This is a story of the gentleman that created the circus. He finds people that are pushed away by society, that are looked down on by society, and he welcomes them. And you have this story of this guy that's struggling to understand what's truly important in life, at the same time while embracing people that are just downtrodden. And it becomes really inspiring. So a little bit about myself to understand truly why this movie was so important to me. As I was growing up, I had a disorder. Not going to go into more detail than that, but the world was really good at telling me what I could not do. It was really good at telling me why I was going to fail, why I was going to end up in jail, why I wasn't going to make anything of myself. Luckily, I had a very supportive family, so I was able to get past that. But it still affects you. You remember the names you're called your entire life. This is the type of story that tells you that you are who you are, that your unique aspects, your broken parts, as they put it in the movie, makes you important and makes you special. I think this is a story that people need to see. Everybody in life has that moment where they feel like they're less than they are. And this movie is there to show you that it doesn't matter what they think about you. It matters what you think about you. Grab onto those people that care, the ones that truly matter, and don't let go. That's what this movie is all about. And they couple it with great acting, great music, great performances. And you walk out of the theater feeling like $1 million. And let me tell you, I've seen it so many times since it came out. And I will see it again and again. Because it's like a drug. You get that feeling and you feel great about yourself, as you should. And you understand exactly what the power of movies are and the power of musicals are. If you haven't seen The Greatest Showman, I don't care if you like musicals or not. You owe it to yourself to see this movie. Go in with an open mind, enjoy yourself, and really understand that the character of P.T. Barnum that they put in this movie, I understand isn't 100% accurate to history. But this character they created, I see myself in him. And you can see yourself in him as well. I've spent my entire life trying to create more of myself because everybody tells me I'm not good enough. Trying to create a business, trying to create videos, trying to create music, whatever it might be, because what I create makes me more valuable. But you know what? That's not how life works, and this movie shows me that. The way life works is be who you are because there are people that care about you the way you are. So, watch this movie if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling down on yourself, or if anybody's telling you you're not good enough. Because when you walk out of this movie, you're going to know what you should already know, which is you are good enough.
I don't think it'll come as any surprise to anybody who's watched some of our reviews from the previous channel. My number one for this year is Baby Driver. I was hotly anticipating this movie from the moment it was announced. For so many reasons, this movie is going to potentially hop up into my top 10 list of movies of all time. It's an original concept, which you don't see very much in Hollywood at this point anymore. You know, it's something that, it was a passion project of a few people, at the top of that list being Edgar Wright. It's just executed flawlessly. The way that they present the story, the way that they present the action, the way that it's filmed, everything is just, like I said, down to every little nitpicky detail. It's just absolutely outstanding. Head and shoulders above every other movie for me this year. And there are a lot of reasons why, aside from even just the things that I've mentioned about its technical standpoints. The character of Baby as a whole, he has this ability, and it's something that's hotly coveted and is something that can go one way or the other. You know, it can be something you can use for great benefit and do great things, or it can be used as something for, you know, potentially evil. It's interesting to see a character that's portrayed in a more realistic way about this type of thing, even though there are some fantastical moments as far as the way that they use music to present a lot of the storyline, which is also excellent and a completely original concept. But as far as the actual character himself, like I said, I can see myself in that character. During my childhood, there was always this, like, you have so much potential. You could go one way or the other. Like, people were always worried about me and the way that I might turn, you know, depending on the grades that I got in school or the way that I behaved around my friends. Like, there was always this expectation that either I was going to do great things or I was going to do terrible things. This all exists within the character of Baby, and it's interesting to see someone who almost has no dialogue be able to present those great emotions, this duality of man, all without really saying much at all, just based on actions. I walked away from this movie, you know, wanting to dig deeper into this character. You know, there were little things that I learned, you know, just basically studying this movie. I was like a fiend. I needed to know more, so I broke things down. I looked deeper into the character and the way that he presents dialogue. I mean, the majority of the things that he says in that movie are things that he's heard from other people. That's almost something that exists in the real world as far as, like, saying the things that you think people want to hear. And it's not until the end of the movie where he starts to really come into his own and finds love, and he really wants to do his best to get back into society and do things for good, you know, use his abilities for good. But things just keep trying to drag him back down, and sometimes life just seems that way. Being somebody who is now an adult from going through a childhood where, like I said, people expect you to do one thing or they expect you to do the other thing, it's interesting to see on screen something that makes you resonate with something that you're not even really a part of. Like, I'm a exceptionally average driver. I have no driving ability whatsoever when it comes to, like, doing fancy stunts or anything like that. But as far as my life is concerned, you know, there's been the right way and the wrong way, and I found my way in the middle. just like everybody else does. Overall, like I said, I gave it a 10 out of 10 during our review. That's how I still feel about it at this point in time. Like I said, it's found its way onto my top 10 list of movies of all time. I'm going to continue to watch this movie. I'm going to continue to analyze the way that it's been shot, the way that they use the music, and I just hope that if you haven't gone out to see it at any point in time during its theatrical run or picked it up on iTunes or on Blu-ray, go out and do it as soon as possible, because this movie is definitely worth the ticket.
So now's your chance. Go down to that comment you left at the beginning of the video and see how you did. Did you have any that overlapped from our list? I'd be curious to know. Leave a reply to your comment and tell us how it differed, if you knew what was coming, if you guessed any of our top picks. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. You get weekly movie reviews as well as Funko Pop news and fan films and gaming videos. Sky's the limit. You get a minimum of 4 videos a week. Hope you'll follow us into the Vortex. We'll see you next time.